everyone. Welcome back to Young and Wifed Up. This is Marcella.
And I'm Gabby.
And thanks for joining us this week for another episode.
If you haven't already, check out youngandwifedup.com for all of the past episodes and our 2021 gift guide.
Oh, that was quick. I wasn't ready for that. Also, wait, I'm sorry. I spaced out. What did you just talk about?
The website.
Okay, Facebook group. Join our Facebook group. I don't know why I thought you already talked about the Facebook group.
No.
I'm not here right now. Yeah, you should totally join our Facebook group. We have a lot of like inside scoop stuff about episodes that are coming up. Sometimes people get to kind of have an input on what we talk about and things like that. And also weekly threads. We have self-promotion threads. We pray for each other. We give praise reports. The whole shebang. It's just a really nice community to be a part of. So definitely check that out.
Yes. Also, if you'd like to support us, you could buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. I was like, at what?
Literally called buymeacoffee.com.
You can also shop with our sponsors, Imperfect Foods, Earth Hero, and Covenant Eyes. You can also give our podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and you can share these episodes with your friends and family.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to lately? We've been reflecting on the past year.
Yes. What have I been up to? Gosh, I'm trying to get back into like meal planning. I'm spending so much time meal prepping and meal planning lately. That
is so relatable.
It feels like a chore right now. I'm trying to get to a place where I'm like enjoying it, but it's hard.
No,
it's hard.
It's one of those things, like, if you oversimplify, then you're eating the same thing every day and you want to die.
Totally.
And then if you overcomplicate it, then you don't do it and then you end up eating out.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a lot of work, like, up front. I try to do all of, like, the meal prepping usually on Sundays because then the food is nice and fresh for Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always, it's always like throughout the week, okay, I'm reaping the benefits of all the work that I put in for my Sunday meal prepping. But it's so much work, and I'm like, I just want to, like, lay down and just, like, but then I know, like, Monday comes, and it is frantic, so it's, like, a gift to my future self, the meal prepping.
Wow, yeah.
It's a lot of work, though. Anyway, what about you? How's teaching going?
It's hard after a long holiday break to get my students back into a good routine.
Oh, yeah.
I've been, what I've been doing with them, because we're still in January, I've been doing looking back at their past year progress and then looking forward to their new goals. Nice. And that's really been beneficial. It's been opening up a lot of conversations with my students about their goals as a musician and stuff. And so honestly, like, that's something I really wish that my music teacher did with me, or any teacher of any art, because I feel like we don't often reflect on how happy we are with our progress unless somebody asks us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't sit and think about, like, was I happy with all the content I put out this year? Or was I happy with all the posts I made, or the podcast episodes I made, or the teaching, the recitals that I did, and all the things that we put out that's our work. And so I really want them to get into a habit of reflection and goal setting, because that's helpful for me as an individual.
Yeah, totally.
And one thing, like, when it comes, Ryan has this really good strategy when it comes to, like, goals for the new year. Instead of doing annual goals, he does quarterly goals.
Same.
Which the first time he did that, I thought he was really silly. I kind of made fun of him about it because I was like, that's dumb. Like, who does that? But honestly, having goals for, like, the first, second, third, and fourth portion of the year makes it so much more attainable.
Totally.
And he actually accomplished most of his goals last year, and I didn't accomplish any of them.
Yeah, because then it gives you more of a chance to, like, reassess like where you're at. Like, do I need to, like, push this for, like, and your priorities change throughout the year also. Yeah. So it's almost silly to think, like, why wouldn't you be reevaluating throughout the year?
So he doesn't, like, set the goals for every quarter in the beginning of the year. He'll like set it for the first quarter, and then when the second quarter comes, then he'll set those ones, and then so on and so forth. So like, yeah, like you said, like your goals and your priorities change over time. And as life goes on and work and like just the seasons of life come and go.
Yeah.
Things that you thought were important to you in the beginning of the year just aren't as important in the middle.
Yeah.
I remember last year, like one of our goals was spending quality time without screens. And we did it for like most of the year, like half the year. We did it once a week. And we had a no screens date night, and it was really good for our marriage and for our communication and just learning to enjoy each other without the screens. And then I hit a really hard season where I was in pain a lot and I needed the screen time. You know what I mean? Like because when you don't have screen time, you have to think of other things to do. And
that you can still sit and do.
And sit and enjoy one another's company.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously we could read and do some casual things, but even that was like very mentally taxing for me at the time. So I felt sad and kind of discouraged that we stopped that weekly date night. But I'm honestly like so glad that we did it now, like only for that period of time. It wasn't for the whole year that I imagined it would be, but it was the perfect amount of time that the Lord knew that we needed to get ready for a really hard season.
Right.
That way, like when the hard season came, we weren't like we weren't unified in fellowship with each other. Like we were ready for that storm to come because we had been cultivating our relationship deeper and deeper with each other.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so even though it didn't carry on for the rest of the year, like I'm still happy that it happened. And so I really like the idea of quarterly goals, and that's something that I'm trying to implement myself. So
yeah.
One of the things that you've accomplished, well, it's funny because
one of my quarterly goals was to potty train my son.
Yeah. So before we get into that, let's take a quick break. Marcella, guess what?
What?
Last night, I made our dinner entirely out of incredible food that could have been thrown out as waste and headed to the landfill.
No way. How?
Imperfect Foods!
Imperfect Foods is a weekly grocery delivery service on a mission to build a better, less wasteful food system. They offer a full lineup of sustainable, affordable groceries that make the weekly chore of grocery shopping an effortless and delightful experience.
Imperfect Foods partners with food suppliers, farmers, and small businesses to ensure that delicious food goes into our pantries and instead of the landfill.
I feel like you started that sentence really weird.
I did.
Anyway, you guys have got to try it. Get $20 off your first Imperfect Foods delivery by using our link at youngandwifedup.com.
Get it.
Okay. This is an intense subject to talk about.
I'm turning off my iPad now because I have nothing to contribute.
I mean, you were kind of part of the process.
I was, but I have no advice to give other than listen to what the mom says if you're helping potty train. Just be there.
Be the support.
Be there.
I'm going to try to give kind of a balanced. Honestly, I can't call I'm not a professional. I'm not like
you're just a mom
I'm
trying to potty train a toddler,
expert or a consultant or anything like. Because they're out there, believe me.
Right.
But this is just like kind of what I noticed off of my own research, and then also just by experience from potty training my 2-year-old son Seth, and he's been potty trained now for a month and a half.
Potty trained. That means
potty trained.
Finished.
Dunzo. Except naps and night times, I'm still kind of navigating that.
Right.
Because he's still in
But when he's conscious, he's potty trained.
Yes, when he is awake and alert, he goes on the potty. The only time that he's had accidents recently is because it's at fault of one of us not
paying
getting
attention
to him soon enough to like help him, because he's not tall enough to sit. He sits on the big potty. And he's not tall enough to climb up there himself. So sometimes he's like standing there like,
somebody.
And we're like, whatever, it's just Seth like being Seth. And then we like turn around and he's like,
I peed myself.
Oh, no, poor baby. And then I just feel bad. It's not his fault. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to just try to like run through this and not like go off of tangents and explain too much. You can obviously go out and do your own research, which is one of the things I'm going to encourage. But first thing I want to talk about is when to start. So there are a couple factors that play into when you should start potty training. One is based off of their age, and also when they're showing what's called signs of potty training readiness. So I'm just gonna I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone, but I have to keep to my points here. So signs of readiness. They're able to follow basic instructions and commands. They can walk or slowly run on their own with stability. So I would not suggest doing this if your kid just started walking and they're still just kind of wobbling around. They're technically walking, but they're falling a lot. They're still pretty clumsy. They're showing an interest in using the potty. They hate having a dirty diaper and they complain about it. They hide while going to the potty, or they hide while they're going potty in their diaper, or they want privacy. I know Seth would do that a lot. Mm-hmm. He would hide under the table. And that's one thing we noticed the first day of potty training him. He would hide under the table to go pee.
We'd have to dive for him, literally dive under the table to grab him
before he started peeing on the floor. Anyway,
which he did a few times.
He did many times, more than a few times for sure. They want to mimic adults' actions, so they want to, sometimes their kid wants to brush their hair, or they're doing things that they see you normally doing on a daily basis. They kind of want to do the same thing that you're doing. They communicate before they're about to go or while they're going. So I know Seth would tell us when he was going poop, he would go and he would kind of point to his bottom and just be he would feel something's happening down there. He just doesn't know what. Stays dry for longer periods during the day. They're waking up dry from naps or overnight. So that's kind of the signs of readiness. Now, from everything I was reading, most children are physiologically ready at 18 months, which means they have enough bladder control by that point, or bowel control to be able to go longer stints during the day without going in their diaper. When they're really little, they have no bladder control. They're just peeing so much. There's just no way to potty train a 6-month-old,
Right.
But most children possess the social, emotional, and communication skills for better potty training success between 22 and 24 months. So even though your kid might be their body is ready at 18 months, they may not be
mentally,
socially
ready.
Or emotionally ready for that process until a little bit later on. So you kind of have to, it's all just based off of watching your child, knowing those things to look for, and then figuring out what's just going to be best for them and also best for your family as a whole, because it's a whole family effort. Essentially, it affects the whole family when you're having to go through this process. Some kids pick it up like that. There's 1 day potty training methods where it's just
crazy.
It's potty training 1 day boot camp, essentially. And some kids, they just get it. And then other kids, they're slow and steady and they just take a little bit longer, and that's fine. The whole goal, if you're at the end point that, okay, my kid is now potty trained, that's really all that matters. And it's hard to keep that mentality when you're in the middle of it and you're just ugh, why can't they just get it, But eventually it'll click. And that's really encouraging. Now on the opposite end, some causes of concern for late potty training. So there's a flip side to starting too late on potty training, which too late would be, I think from the research I was doing, is beyond 28 months old. There's more likely to be a power struggle because they're older and have more opinions now. They may be more resistant to change and they're more set in their routine. I mean, I can't even imagine you've been going in your diaper for almost 3 years of your life, and then all of a sudden you're being told not to. That's kind of insane.
It's very confusing.
It's super confusing. And they're not as motivated by pleasing their parents, but they're more motivated only if there is something in it for them. So when they're around 2 years old, they want to make mom and dad happy. They want to do things. They want to please the parents or whatever. Please, whatever guardian or caregiver. But when they get older, it's more okay, I'm only going to do this. What's in it for me now? What's the reward? What am I going to get? And so that's where you kind of end up with the power struggles.
Right.
And they can become possessive over diapers. I didn't know that was a thing.
Wow. That is kind of crazy.
So there are also health risks in waiting to start potty training closer to 3 years old rather than 2 years old. And that can include things like incontinence, UTIs, constipation, etc. And I'm not saying this to scare you, like, oh my gosh, my child's like 3 and they're not potty trained yet. It's not to scare you, but it might be things to watch out for and maybe kind of kick things into gear.
Yeah.
And it might also be a reason if your child is having health issues and they're running into this sort of thing frequently and you're not potty training them yet. That might be just something to look into. It's not a guarantee, like, yeah, that's the reason why, but it is a factor from what I've read that could be a reason to start at a certain age rather than later. Okay. Moving on, how to prepare yourself for potty training. So it's not even just about, is my child ready? It's, am I ready? Because let me tell you, it's going to take a toll if it's really rough. And like I said, with some kids, it might be easy breezy. It just clicks within a day. I've heard people, they're like, my son had one accident and that was it. Like, that's all it took was for him to have like one accident on the floor, and he never like peed or pooped in his pants like ever again. He just always went in the potty. That's definitely something that happens, but then there's also a lot of incidents where it just takes a while, and it's draining. So research. Look into the different methods of potty training. I think the most common ones are, like I said, like slow and steady, where they kind of slowly introduce like training pans or and like the accidents just kind of happen. Sometimes they'll do diapers during one part of the day, and then kind of, they'll do one pee or poop in the potty, like per day or something, and then it's just a weeks or months long process, and sometimes that works for people. The other most common one was a 3-day method. This is kind of the one that I geared more towards with Seth, with a little bit of tweaking on our part, and I'll kind of like go into that a little bit later. And there's even like a 1-day method, which I was talking about, was like potty training boot camp. And sometimes this works really well for kids, and then other times, you just might need a little bit more time. So looking up the different methods, buying a potty, get septic safe wipes, and underwear or training pants, or like training underwear. It's like underwear, but there's like a little bit of padding in it. So if they do have an accident, it soaks up a little bit, but it's not like a diaper.
Right.
So they're still going to be able to feel like if they're wet.
Uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like as thin as like just regular underwear.
It's like a fail safe.
Yeah. And then also consider a reward system. This works really well for some kids. There is a lot of research that says like reward systems do work really well in cases like this for children that are around 2 years old, if that's when you're starting. But obviously, you got to look up things yourself, and also basing off of like your kid's temperament or personality, you kind of know how they respond to certain reward systems probably by this age. Okay. Now, when you decide to start, after you've kind of gone through that whole checklist and like gotten all of your stuff ready, have toys or books ready to keep them entertained while they're sitting on the potty. That was like one of the biggest things when we were potty training Seth, to like get him to sit longer on the potty. He did not want to stay there at first.
No. It was very stressful. Mm-hmm. He did not like sitting there, and we're all staring at him like, okay, go pee.
He's like the center of attention, and it's like he's still trying to figure things out, and it's boring, like sitting on the potty. Like there's nothing to do.
Guys, we take our phones and scroll on TikTok for a reason. Like, who is actually just sitting there pooping?
Not
just
me.
Sitting.
Not me.
Sounds like torture.
Yeah.
For an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah. So what we would do is we would kind of we would have those things ready for him just to get him to sit longer on the potty and just get used to it. Now we don't do anything with him. We just tell him, go pee. And he goes pee. And that's it. We don't have to bring books in or whatever. Sometimes if he's like really in the middle of something, like playing with a toy, and he's really concentrated, it's hard to get him to transition into, let's try sitting on the potty. It's been, an hour or two since you've gone. Let's just try now. So sometimes we'll tell him, okay, tell your toys, be right back, tell your toys. And he'll kind of like wave at them as he's like walking away. But if he's like really upset because he was just in the middle of something. I mean, that's hard to pull yourself away from something you were really into. We just tell him like, okay, just bring that one thing with you, and then we just kind of set it on the bathroom sink and then sit him on the potty, and that usually kind of like gets him to calm down enough to go sit in the potty. Be prepared. Day 1 will be a disaster. Lots and lots and lots of accidents. A ton. So have your cleaning products, paper towels ready. Figure out where you're gonna like set your potty in the house. We kind of kept it in like a central location where he played the most often, which was in the dining room, because we were having to still cook food and stuff, and we knew that was probably the best location to keep it in. And then eventually we kind of moved it further away, and then eventually it was in the bathroom, and then we just took the little potty like on the floor away altogether, and now he's just sitting on the big potty. Let's see. I just put prepare yourself.
Mentally? I think,
make sure you're in a good like mental space to do this.
It was difficult for you this time because you had a newborn, and thankfully the first 2 days you had Mom and I.
Yeah.
And then after that, Jed was home a couple days. Or
I had you and Mom help me on the first day.
Yeah.
And then I had Mom and Jed on the second day. And then I had Jed on Sunday. And then Monday I was
nobody.
By myself.
Yeah.
So Eli was like eating all day throughout the day. So having to like navigate feeding Eli, and then all of a sudden in the middle of me feeding Eli, Seth is like telling me he has to go pee. And then I'm like, uh-oh, like, how am I gonna do this?
Yeah.
And then like I gotta take Eli off the boob, and then I gotta set him on the bed, and then he's like screaming, crying, and then like I gotta put Seth on the potty. It really got to me at a couple of points. That was one of the things also when to start. Try not to start potty training around the same time as a big event, like a new sibling or a big move or something. They usually say like a 6 to 8 week buffer in between events is probably a good amount of time, which I was kind of talking about on my Instagram. I would have started him sooner, but I knew I was not in the right headspace to do that yet. Yeah. So even though Seth was ready, I was not ready. And that's like, it has to be a team effort for your kid to not be like frustrated, and you as well, and everybody else in the household, because it's just, like I said, a family affair. Okay, so now what we did as far as like what the days looked like when we started potty training with Seth. So I kind of like, as it got closer to the day that we were going to start, I kind of started to warn him like, okay, 2 more days and no more diapers, or 1 more day, tomorrow we're gonna start, with no more diapers. So even though he didn't really he didn't know like what exactly that entailed, that
he
first
knew something
morning,
was coming.
Yeah, because I kept telling him like, no more diapers, okay, no more diapers, this much time. So that first day I woke him up, I took off his nighttime diaper, and I told him, okay, no more diapers, we're gonna be wearing big boy underwear now. And we set everything up. We like put the little potty in the dining room, like I said, with a towel. It was by all his toys, so he could still kind of like play around. It was like his normal like play area, so there was still something similar in his routine. And then I pumped him full of water. I wanted to get juice because they say that's like they're going to drink a lot faster, so then they'll pee more, which gives them more opportunities to practice sitting on the potty. But we gave him a bunch of salty snacks, I think. We just kept giving him like crackers and stuff, and he just wanted to keep drinking more water. And then the first part of the first day, we went completely bottomless. So he was just like naked boy from here down. No underwear, no pants. I know some people say,
we kept it warm in there, don't worry.
Yeah. We had the heater on and everything, so it wasn't freezing. It was a little tush off. And he had many accidents on the floor, and I wanted him to have an accident on the floor so that he could kind of like correlate what's happening with my body and then seeing visually. oh, I felt something, and then I started something started coming out, like like pee started coming out. So he had a few accidents, and at that point we were also kind of trying to figure out what his like pee and poop schedule was, because it's hard when they have diapers.
You don't
because you don't know when it
happening.
happened unless you physically like see the diaper line turning blue or whatever. You just don't know. So that first day was also just like figuring out what his like pee and poop schedule was, I guess. That way we knew when to start prompting him, like, hey, let's go sit on the potty now, or do you need to go potty? At first, I wouldn't ask him at all. I would just let him go. And then we were there with all the paper towels, you know, wiping up the floor. Thankfully, it's all hardwood flooring in that area, so we didn't have to, like, worry about carpet or, like, putting the pee pads down or anything like that. I know some people talk about doing that. So anyway, exhausting on the first day. And then we noticed that he was peeing, but then he wasn't noticing that he was peeing because it wasn't really getting on him. It was just going straight to the floor, and he was just like,
that's different.
But he wasn't getting wet himself. So then we transitioned into, I think after his nap, which we put a pull-up on him for his nap time, which is essentially like, it's essentially a diaper. Like, it's absorbent enough now that the technology of the pull-ups now, it just feels like a diaper. So I don't know, it might just be a gimmick, or I don't even know. So then the second part of the first day, we decided to do pants and only pants, and they were somewhat loose just so that it was easy to kind of like
PJ
pull them
pants.
off. Yeah, like sweats. So we decided to do that, and then he started realizing, because then it was like damp and wet.
He didn't like it.
And he was like, he didn't like that he was peeing in his pants. Mm-hmm. So then he was kind of starting to correlate, like, okay, I'm starting to go pee, and now I need to go sit on the potty because I don't want this, like, wet stuff on me. Like, that's not very comfortable. It's cold and, like, annoying. So that was, like, one click for him. And there were, like, several clicks that needed to happen, like, over the course of a couple of weeks. And I was talking about earlier how we opted for the 3-day method. However, what the 3-day method essentially entails is you sitting your child on the potty every 15 minutes for, like, 3 days straight, whether or not they have to go. The only issue with you prompting them instead of what they call self-prompting is now they're not really correlating, I'm feeling something happening in my body, which means I need to go sit on the potty. They're just going off of, I'm sitting on the potty because mom told me to.
Right.
Not because they're listening to their body's, like, pee cues, essentially. So that's why I wanted him to have accidents, and for him to be able to kind of correlate what's happening here, being able to see it, and then also feeling it with the wetness in his pants. So in that sense, because we weren't doing, okay, every 15 minutes we're sitting you on the potty so you can go pee in the potty, regardless of whether you feel like you have to go pee or not, sometimes that can backfire on people, because then they do so good in those 3 days because they were going pee like every 15 minutes and they were peeing on the potty every time, but then those 3 days end and they stop asking, and the regular schedule or routine goes back into effect. You can't be sitting your kid on the potty every 15 minutes. It's just not realistic. So then all of a sudden their kid's peeing in their pants because they weren't correlating their body's signs and what they were feeling to, I need to tell mom and dad to sit me on the potty. Now, there are some people who, they kind of have like an in-between where the parents won't tell them, like, hey, let's go sit on the potty, or do you need to go potty? But they'll give them a potty watch, which apparently you can buy these on Amazon. So you can essentially, it's like a little digital watch, and they're small enough for toddlers, and you place them on their wrist, and you set it for, maybe you're doing every 30 minutes because you notice that's about how often they're going. You set it for like 30 minutes, and then when it goes off, they're noticing it's going off, and then they go and tell you. So it's like the timer is prompting them to prompt you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought about doing that, but I was like, I'm going to see how Seth does with him just being able to tell us that he's going on his own. And eventually it clicked. It took a little while. I think like once we got kind of like a week in, he was a little bit more like aware of telling us sooner, because most of the time it would be like seconds before he would start to go pee, and then he would realize, and then it would just be too late. So and thankfully I know a lot of people were commenting like on posts that I was reading and everything, like, oh, my kid is like afraid of pooping on the potty. Thankfully Seth wouldn't poop on the potty the first day, and I was like, I'm gonna take that as a really big win, because I know that was like a hurdle I was afraid of, but he did really good with that. So I don't really have any tips for like troubleshooting with stuff like that. I think the whole process, not including naps and nighttime diapers, because like I said, I'm still navigating like when to take those away, because I want to make sure he is staying more dry like overnight and during nap times, which he is like a handful of times, like during naps he'll wake up and I'll change him, and I've been doing the training pants on him for the nap time, and then the pull-ups on him for nighttime.
Yeah.
So we're still kind of figuring that out. But as far as like daytime potty training, I think it probably, once he just like actually really, really got it, was probably a week and a half or 2 weeks that he was like consistently not having accidents anymore. And then after that, all of his accidents were because of us and not because he like wasn't doing the right things or whatever, or wasn't telling us or wasn't prompting us. So that was kind of the process. I got a lot of my information, obviously, from like reading a lot of articles, forums and threads. There was a specific Instagram account that was really, really helpful. And a lot of my friends who have asked me about, you know, they have kids kind of like a similar age. And they're like, I want to start potty training, but I just like have no idea where to start. I've been kind of like pointing them over to this Instagram account that was really helpful, very practical. And she also kind of goes through a lot of troubleshooting stuff. And her handle is Potty Training Consultant. So we'll probably link that on the website. But it was really helpful just if you have no idea like where to even start. And that's kind of where I was before we got into it and just doing all the research. I just had no idea what to look for. Like how does anybody do this? Like, how does anyone approach this? And she just makes it really easy to understand. And like, if you just go through like her highlights, she has like a ton of information about potty training and like troubleshooting and like when to start, and like almost everything that I talked about, I kind of like went off of like the points that she makes on her profile. So I definitely recommend looking into her stuff. And I know some people like, they recommended some books, but I was like, I have a newborn, I have a toddler, when do I have time to read? Like this whole book thing. Like I just needed like a very summarized version.
You needed some principles to go off of.
Yes. And then I just kind of went off of that. So that's pretty much the gist of what we did. And hopefully it gives you
somewhere to start.
Yeah. I mean, there's many different ways to go about it. Like I said, it's just going to be what's best for you and your family. And I know, like, roll your eyes. Like, I just tell me what to do. Like, just give me exactly what to do. And I wish I could, but I can't. I can just tell you, like, our own experience and
how it works better for you.
I know. And who knows? Eli might be totally different. I know I was asking my mom, like, how it went between you and I. And she said, I took a little bit faster, but that's because I wanted to do what she was doing.
Yeah, you were watching me.
I was watching her, and then it just made me more excited to, like, be potty trained, essentially. Because you want to be like your older siblings. So I'm, like, hoping maybe Eli will be the same way, but we'll see. Seth did really good, though. He was a trooper for sure.
No, he did. And also, like, if you're ever babysitting somebody that's potty training, in the midst of it, when you have the child come over, show them where the potty is.
Yeah.
That's like kind of what I ended up doing the first time Seth came over, and he was already potty trained, and it was just me and him and Ryan. So I immediately, like, the second he walked in the door, I'm like, let's go look at the potty. And I showed him, and I was like, okay, like, you can tell me, you could tell Uncle Ryan.
Right.
And he understood, and then he did great. He started walking, like he would tell me as he's walking to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So that, I noticed when I was a preschool teacher, because I taught 3-year-olds, and most of them had to be potty trained by that time.
Yeah, sometimes it's a
They were
requirement to get
required,
into,
but
yeah.
there was a few that were still kind of struggling. And one of the things that I noticed is, one, they get really distracted, so they pee themselves. Because they're so
Yes.
enthralled in what they're doing. So doing like a check-in every once in a while.
Oh, totally. That's one thing that the
Yeah.
potty training consultant, like Instagram, she talks about, like, there are appropriate times for you to prompt your child, let's go pee, let's go sit on the potty. And one of the things was, if you know they're about to start an activity
That's
that
longer.
they're gonna be like
Yeah.
really concentrated on, they might not notice, or
Yeah.
it might be really difficult to pull them away. So that's a good time to just like sit them on the potty. Or if you just kind of know their pee schedule by that point, you know that, okay, their body's probably ready to go pee. Let's just, like, it's been a while, let's go sit on the
Yeah.
potty, as opposed to the prompting every 15 minutes like I was
Yeah,
talking
no,
about.
that was good. And also knowing, like, showing them where they're supposed to go when they're not somewhere that they're used to going.
Exactly, yeah.
That way they're not like, oh no, like, because we're not, like, we think, oh, I need to go find somewhere to go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
But to them, they're like, I'm not home. Where's the
Yeah, I don't
bathroom? I'm
know.
just going to pee right here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
showing them where they can go when you're in a place, when you're spending like a good amount of time somewhere that you don't usually go, that way they like know, and kids are smart. Like,
They are. You got to give them more
you gotta
credit.
give them some more credit. And like, even if you're like, I don't know if my child understands, like, just try it. Just try
Yeah.
showing them and telling them who they can tell, you know, wherever they are. That way you're at least giving them the opportunity to try.
Exactly,
And I
yeah.
think that'll minimize the accidents when you're not at home.
Yeah, and I also think, like, if somebody else is watching your kid, transitioning them into the big potty sooner is going to be really, the big toilet sooner is going to be really helpful. The first time we had him over here, we did bring our little potty, but then after that, so, okay, the one that we got, it's actually, okay, the initial potty that we got, the guard was not high enough. So he was just like straight shooting pee like everywhere
At us.
So we were like holding bowls like to try to catch it. It was miserable. My mom saved us all and bought this like potty on Amazon. I think it was like $35-$40 or something. But the guard was high enough. Oh yeah, I should. Yeah. Super great. It's the one I keep sending to all my friends. Like, you need to get this potty, especially if you have boys. But what's cool about that potty is that it goes from like an on-the-floor little potty to you can pull out an insert and then it kind of clips into your big potty, and then you can and the guard like separates from the smaller like floor potty, and you can still use it on the toilet one as well.
That's cool.
So we kind of transitioned him into, we have the potty on the floor in the dining room. Then we have the potty on the floor in the hallway next to the bathroom. Then we have the potty on the floor in the bathroom. And now we have the potty separated and up on the big toilet. So he was still sitting on like the little seat, but it was on the big toilet. And then we went into, now he's just using the big potty with no inserts or anything. So what we do with the big potty is we sit him as far back as we possibly can, and then I have him hold on to the front of the toilet seat so that he can stabilize himself. Otherwise, he will fall in because they're so small.
He's like doing a deep squat.
Yeah, but it might help them poop too in the
Yeah,
potty.
no,
like,
it's a better
the position,
posture.
So he like has his legs hanging kind of off the side, and then he's leaning forward. So then he doesn't need a guard because it's just
it's aiming down.
Pointing straight down anyway. Anyways, that's kind of how we transitioned into the big potty. And that was over the course of, I think, like maybe 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. I
a
hope
lot
I
of
summarized
information.
as much as I
No,
could.
it was really good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, very concise and helpful.
All right. Well, that's all I have for today for potty
Thanks,
training.
Marcella. Thank you for all of your wisdom.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing the research so we didn't have to.
Please still go do your own research. I'm not the potty training encyclopedia.
You're
over
the
here.
authority on
I'm
potty
not.
training now.
No, I'm not.
Okay, guys. So wrapping up our episode, we're going to take a quick break, and we're also going to be going straight into a clip that we did when we had a girls' night with one of our friends giving us their recommendations. So we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know about you, but I'm always on the hunt for a convenient shopping experience.
However, too much of the stuff we buy today is made without any thought of how it will affect our families and the world tomorrow.
What if there was an all-around better way to shop, with the convenience that we all want and the confidence that everything is made, packaged, and shipped sustainably?
Earth Hero is exactly that. Earth Hero is a one-stop shop for all your sustainable and eco-friendly products.
They have so many products ranging from beauty supplies, cleaning products, homeware, clothing, baby essentials, and so much more.
Join us today on our sustainable journey by using promo code Young and Wifed Up for 10% off your entire purchase.
Make sure to click the Earth Hero link on our website at youngandwifedup.com to start shopping today.
Okay, guys, it's Gabby, and I'm here in my car, and it's raining, apparently, and I'm here with my friend Jessie, and she's going to be giving us a couple recommendations for today's episode. One is going to be a cleaning hack, and the other one is a cooking hack, or like a immunity health hack. So let's start with your cooking hack. Hey, Jessie, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
It's raining, so I'm doing great.
Okay, so my cooking hack is not really so much of a cooking hack. It's more of a preparation. You know, me and Gabby, we like to do ginger shots.
Yes, we do. I do one every day or 2 times a day.
Yeah, same. Or, you know, ginger lemonade. But so the hack is more of making your own ginger shots, because the ones at the stores are so expensive, and they're also like, how fresh are they? We do not know.
Right.
But you just get 6 lemons from the store, you know. I prefer to get organic. And then I also get 2 bags of organic ginger from Trader Joe's. And I just soak the ginger, you know, get the dirt off, and then put the lemons on one of those juicers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I put that through a sifter, and it goes into a bowl. And then I get the ginger, and I put that in the blender, and then I put maybe 4 or 5 or 6 cups of water in there. Mm-hmm. And then I blend it on high until there's nothing, no chunks, just liquid, and you know, the pulp will gather. But then I put the sifter over the bowl that has the lemon juice in it.
Yeah.
And then I pour it over, and then I go with a spoon and press into the sifter. And then I put the mix of the lemon juice and the ginger juice, I put that into one of those glass jars that you usually get organic juice from.
Yeah.
And then those are my shots for that week. And then if I want to use it to make ginger lemonade, then I'll use from that and add water and sugar. And then that's just like my ginger and lemon for that week. And then I'll do that again the next week.
Cool. So you and I, we like it because we like ginger and we like lemons, but also because there's some health benefits. So can you tell us what those health benefits are?
Yeah. Ginger is really good for inflammation, and me and Gabby both kind of deal with our own inflammation issues. Yeah. And then it's really good for your gut, and the lemon is really good for your gut too, and it causes your intestines to contract so that you can go number 2.
We all need that, Jessie. Thank you so much. We all need a good poop. So that's your health cooking hack. Can you give us your cleaning hack?
So my cleaning hack is, me and Gabby both live in an apartment. And there's really not much room for a bunch of cleaning
products.
Yeah. And so because of that, I've kind of had to think like, what is like something that's just one item that I need for cleaning, and like I don't need to get anything else. I don't need to stuff like anything else in my, you know, under the kitchen sink. Just one item that you can clean everything with. And that's vinegar. You know, you can use vinegar to do your laundry. If you're doing one load, then you just add 1 cup. And then vinegar is also really cheap. You can get a lot of it for $3, like more than a gallon for $3.
Yeah.
And then not only that, you can clean your toilet with it, there's just a lot of things. But not only that, the leftover lemons from the ginger shots, I use those to make a cleaning solution, so that way my house doesn't just smell like vinegar. I put the lemons that are used from the ginger shots in a jar, and then I fill up that jar to the top with vinegar, and then it smells like really fresh lemon cleaner.
Yeah.
And, I close the lid, I date it, and then use it in 2 weeks. And then nothing goes to waste, because with the ginger, I save the pulp to make a big pot of tea.
That's awesome. So these are also sustainability hacks too. Yeah. Jessie's crunchy like me and thinks about low waste and economical ways that she can be homemaking. So thank you, Jessie, for sharing your tips with our audience.
No problem.
Okay, guys, we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.